Hello and welcome to Focus Asia. From our studios in Hong Kong, I'm Joe Kynes. Tonight, a look at changing Asia and the impact of modernization and development on the region's cultures. More than a quarter century ago, the Ho Chi Minh Trail was infamous as a jungle supply route for North Vietnamese troops fighting against the South. Peace may have come to the country, but the Ho Chi Minh Trail is once again the center of controversy. The government is transforming the trail into a modern highway to boost economic development. But the project has failed to win over conservationists. Susan Yu has the story.
Highway 1, Vietnam's asphalt artery, allowing the mass movement of people, produce and products from north to south. The route has long been the lifeblood of the country's economy, but Highway 1 is in danger of seizing up. Growing traffic has meant growing pressure on the road. And in the rainy season, flooding can paralyze parts of the highway for days and even weeks. The situation has pushed Hanoi to embark on one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in Asia.
The Ho Chi Minh Trail is still there. It was used during the war to transport soldiers and arms from the north to the south, to topple the regime in the south and to defeat the Americans.
To relieve pressure on Highway 1, another national artery is being built along the famous Ho Chi Minh Trail. The wartime supply route is being reborn, rebuilt, and aptly renamed as the Ho Chi Minh Highway. The route will stretch nearly 1,700 kilometers from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City. Amid much hoopla and patriotic fervor, the project broke ground in April 2000. Since then, construction of the first phase of the route has been constant but also cautious. During the war, the Americans dropped more than 1.5 tons of bombs along the trail. That means leftover unexploded ordnance is one problem road workers are dealing with. But in other areas, the landscape is proving to be more problematic. Near Da Nang lies the Trong Sang mountain range. It's considered the toughest part of the whole project. These men are amongst 300 who are working on this segment alone. Pham Ngoc Thi manages the back-breaking construction.
It really hasn't been easy building this section of the highway. There are huge boulders and very rocky cliffs.
And there are also lots of bridges to build. This is one of more than 300 spans that will be part of the network.
The Ho Chi Minh Highway project has a whopping price tag of $380 million US. But the Vietnamese government is expecting immeasurable returns. It's hoping that the project will help reduce poverty for about 200 poor villages affected by the highway.
Tran Ngoc Chin is in charge of the Mammoth project.
We will try our best to provide the best conditions for the villagers who have to relocate. We want them to maintain their culture and way of life and give them access to infrastructure. It's not just the highway, but it will also mean eventual access to electricity, fresh water supply, schools, hospitals and homes, so their lives can be better and more diverse.
That's the idea, at least in theory. For the ethnic hill tribes, the highway construction has led to mixed reviews. Long Thi Nam and her family live next to the construction taking place in Quang Nam. The 42-year-old says she was lucky since her home was not in the direct path of the new highway.
We have to change and adapt. When the highway is finished, it will be easier for people to get around.
But others say they have received little compensation from local authorities. This villager claimed her family and a number of others were given only large pieces of sheet metal like these to rebuild their homes. Local officials admitted that a compensation scheme is still in the works, but they say the hill tribe people will eventually be grateful for the new highway. Professor Nguyen Van Huy is a prominent ethnologist. He agrees that development is a good thing for Vietnam and its minorities, but it should be achieved carefully.
You have to be careful and consider the negative effects. It can spoil and degrade the morality and practice of different ethnic minorities. In the short term, we can profit from infrastructure and development, but in the long term, something will be lost.
Conservationists are echoing similar concerns. At stake are Vietnam's natural resources, namely the 10 biodiversity hotspots across the country, which are affected by the project. The Quoc Phong National Park is known for its thousands of flora and fauna species. Vietnam's first protected park was ironically founded by Ho Chi Minh himself in 1962. But it lies in the path of the new highway. Debate has been raging for the past 2 years over the government's decision to allow an 8-meter overpass to run across 1/5 of the park. Conservationists argue it would ruin the environment, affect precious wildlife, and allow uncontrolled human access to the nature reserve.
Environmentalists were hoping that the 27-kilometer road would run around the park rather than through it. But bypassing Quoc Phong would have meant doubling the cost and the length of the highway.
The controversy sparked unprecedented public debate in Vietnam. But despite the outcry, the government decided late last year to allow construction to start in the summer of 2002. Forestry official Dao Van Quang is resigned to the fact that nothing can stand in the way of progress.
Of course, as a director of the park and a forestry worker for more than 30 years, I was very concerned when I heard about the project. But after meetings with the government scientists, environmentalists and the highway projects manager, I was told that making a path in between the mountains would help minimize the effects on the forests here.
Construction officials are adamant the highway will not destroy Vietnam's national parks, nor will it wreak havoc on the environment and its inhabitants.
It will also link West Vietnam with the east, and of course the north with the south. Port cities like Da Nang will be connected with the border areas with Cambodia and Laos. The highway will be an important contribution with other ASEAN countries and allow Vietnam to integrate with them much easier.
The government's balancing act is unlikely to placate opponents of the project. But officials say, if you ask those who live in the remotest corners of Vietnam, and those who traditionally depend on humble roads like these to make ends meet, they'll tell you, just like the Ho Chi Minh Trail, the highway is vital in the struggle against a longtime foe, poverty.